Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something a little different. We're diving deep into the world of Chinese military training. And let me tell you, these guys don't mess around. From what I hear, it makes Dwight's Hay Farm boot camp look like a walk in the park. So buckle up, because we're about to uncover some shocking secrets about how the Chinese army shapes ordinary people into some of the most disciplined soldiers in the world. Imagine this. You're a new recruit in the Chinese army, thrust into a world of discipline and intensity. The training is legendary for its rigor. Waking up before the sun, sleeping long after it sets. Drill instructors will have you doing push-ups in your sleep. Discipline is the name of the game. Every aspect of life is controlled. Perfectly aligned rows, synchronized movements, pushing recruits to their absolute limits. They want disciplined, resilient soldiers. The training program is designed for that. Be prepared for a wild ride. It's an experience that will stay with you for life. Alright, so we talked about the mental toughness it takes to make it in the Chinese army, but let's be real, you gotta be in pretty good shape to handle this gig. We're talking about pushing your body to the absolute limit, and then pushing it some more. Long-distance running is a cornerstone of their training. We're talking about running for miles upon miles, day after day, in all kinds of weather. They say it builds stamina, endurance, and a whole lot of mental grit. As if running for miles wasn't enough, they also have to tackle these insane obstacle courses. We're talking walls to scale, barbed wire to crawl under, mud pits to wade through, you name it, they've got it. And just when you think it can't possibly get any harder, they throw in some weight training for good measure. They say it's all about building strength and resilience, and let me tell you, these guys look like they could bench press a small car. Alright, so we've talked about the physical challenges of Chinese army training, but here's the thing, it's not just about being physically strong. These guys know that true strength comes from within, from the mind. That's why they put their recruits through a mental ringer that's just as intense as the physical one. One of the key ways they do this is through high-stress simulations. Imagine this. You're in a mock battle situation, the air is thick with smoke, you can hear the sound of gunfire all around you, and you have to make split-second decisions that could mean the difference between success and failure. They also use sleep deprivation as a way to test a recruit's resilience. We're talking about going days with little to no sleep, while still being expected to perform at your peak. It's all about pushing recruits to their breaking point, and then teaching them how to keep going even when they feel like they have nothing left to give. Alright, so we've talked about the physical and mental challenges of Chinese army training, but here's where things get really interesting. These guys don't just train for conventional warfare, they train to survive in some of the most extreme environments on planet Earth. We're talking about jungles, deserts, mountains, you name it. If it's a harsh and unforgiving environment, you can bet the Chinese army is training to conquer it. They learn how to find and purify water in the wild. They also learn how to build shelters from whatever materials they can find, whether it's branches, leaves, or even snow. Forget about takeout menus, these guys are learning how to trap, hunt, and forage for their meals. Recruits are often sent on long-range survival exercises where they have to fend for themselves for days or even weeks at a time. It's the ultimate test of their physical and mental toughness, and it's designed to weed out anyone who isn't cut out for the demands of military life. Alright, so we've talked about the physical and mental challenges of Chinese army training, the survival skills, but let's not forget about the heart of it all, combat, and when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, the Chinese army doesn't mess around. They've got a long and storied history of martial arts, and they incorporate those ancient fighting techniques into their modern-day training. One of the most prominent styles is Sanda, also known as Chinese kickboxing. It's a brutal and effective fighting system that combines punches, kicks, takedowns, and grappling. They also train in other traditional Chinese martial arts like Kung Fu, which focuses on fluid movements, powerful strikes, and intricate grappling techniques. And let's not forget about weapons training. They learn how to use everything from knives and swords to staffs and nunchucks. Okay, so we've talked about the physical training, the mental toughness, the survival skills, and the hand-to-hand combat. But now it's time to talk about the main event, live fire exercises. This is where it all comes together, where recruits get to put their training to the test in the most realistic way possible. We're talking about live ammunition, real explosions, and the constant threat of danger. So what exactly goes down during these live fire exercises? Well, imagine this. You're out in the field, the sun is beating down on you, and you can hear the sound of gunfire echoing through the air. You and your squad are advancing on an enemy position, taking cover behind whatever you can find, and returning fire with everything you've got. They also practice things like flanking maneuvers, urban warfare tactics, and how to breach buildings. They use smoke grenades, flashbangs, and even explosives to simulate the chaos and confusion of a real battlefield. The Chinese army takes safety very seriously during these exercises. They have strict protocols in place, experienced instructors supervising everything, and medical personnel on standby in case anything goes wrong. Alright, so we've talked about the individual skills and training that go into making a Chinese soldier, but here's the thing. Warfare is not an individual sport, it's a team effort, and the Chinese army knows that better than anyone. They place a huge emphasis on teamwork, unit cohesion, and the importance of relying on your comrades in arms. They put recruits through a grueling series of team-building exercises that are designed to test their ability to work together under pressure. We're talking about things like carrying heavy logs together, solving complex puzzles as a group, and navigating obstacle courses while blindfolded and relying on each other for guidance. The Chinese army also fosters a sense of shared purpose and identity among its soldiers. They instill in them a deep sense of patriotism, loyalty to the Communist Party, and a belief in the importance of defending their country. Going through the rigors of basic training together, facing challenges side by side, and relying on each other for support creates a bond that's hard to break. Okay, so we've talked about the physical and mental training, the survival skills, the hand-to-hand combat, and the importance of teamwork, but let's not forget about one crucial element: weapons. And when it comes to weaponry, the Chinese army doesn't play around. They've got a vast and sophisticated arsenal at their disposal, and they make sure their soldiers know how to use it all. Every Chinese soldier is trained to use the Type 95 assault rifle, their standard-issue firearm. It's a reliable and accurate weapon that's effective at both close and medium range. They also get familiar with other small arms like pistols, machine guns, and rocket-propelled grenades. As soldiers progress through the ranks, they get introduced to heavier and more specialized weaponry. We're talking about things like mortars, anti-tank missiles, and even surface-to-air missile systems. They learn how to operate these weapons, how to maintain them, and how to deploy them effectively in a combat situation. The Chinese army has a formidable artillery force, and they make sure their soldiers know how to rain down fire from afar. Beyond physical and tactical training, the Chinese army emphasizes political education. The army is seen as the guardian of the Communist Party and the Chinese state. To ensure loyalty, they invest heavily in political indoctrination. Recruits learn about the Communist Party, Marxism-Leninism, and socialism. They view the party as the guiding force behind China's rise. The army also uses subtle methods to instill loyalty and patriotism. They organize visits to historical sites and show propaganda films. Soldiers participate in political discussions and study groups. Political education ensures soldiers fight for the party's interests. Alright, so we've talked about the traditional aspects of Chinese army training, but let's not forget that we're living in the 21st century and the battlefield is changing rapidly. The Chinese army knows that to stay ahead of the curve, they need to embrace new technologies and adapt their training accordingly. We're talking about drones, cyber warfare, electronic warfare, and all the other high-tech goodies that are shaping modern conflict. Drone operation is becoming increasingly important. Unmanned aerial vehicles are now an integral part of modern warfare, used for everything from reconnaissance to airstrikes. The Chinese army is investing heavily in drone technology, and they're training their soldiers to operate these sophisticated machines effectively. Cyber warfare is another area where the Chinese army is making significant strides. They're training soldiers to hack into enemy networks, disrupt communications, and even launch cyber attacks. The future of warfare is uncertain, but one thing's for sure: the Chinese army will be ready for it. So there you have it, folks. A glimpse into the intense and demanding world of Chinese army training. From grueling physical challenges to high-tech cyber warfare, these soldiers are prepared for anything. It's a fascinating and sometimes unsettling look at how one of the world's largest militaries prepares its troops for the realities of 21st century conflict. If you found this video as fascinating as I did, give it a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments what surprised you the most. And hey, if you're feeling brave, maybe share a story about your own boot camp experiences. I promise, it can't be worse than what these Chinese recruits go through. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe for more eye-opening content. Until next time, stay curious.